inside Margo King. Margo, the monsters are getting close.
A little too close for my comfort, I tell you.
We've got the Mudbuggers, including the Mud Shark, and I think he's got his handling problems taken care of, that Corvette.
But he's calmed down his aggression because he spent many hours hand-standing his car getting for that new paint job.
And the monster trucks, including the monster tank, the Virginia Beach Beast. It's going to be a wild night, and I'm going to take a driving lesson in a monster truck. Aces high. Don't go away. We'll be right back to the Saginaw Civic Center.
Mudbog Drag Racing Championships here at the Saginaw Civic Center. Larry Huffman and Margo King calling the action for you tonight on a cold and snowy night outside. This is short and sweet. Dan Myers of LaPorte, Indiana. It's an 86 Chevy short bed pickup with a monster 461 Corvette big block horsepower engine, 900 horsepower. And there's the launch for short and sweet. And he makes it all the way through and then digs the nose in at the end, Margo. That's a pit at the end, a mud pit.
That's helped to keep those trucks out of the stands after their run is through.
We might point out this is a hockey arena, the Saginaw Civic Center. We run these events in arenas and stadiums all across the country. A look back at short and sweet. Good run. 3:16, 3 seconds and 16 one-hundredths of a second. Good run for short and sweet, Margo.
Not bad considering that these tires are DOT approved street tires uncut.
Which means that they are under 44 inches tall and they are uncut. The cut have every other tread cut out for more traction. And these are the uncut tires.
Dan Myers owns a four-wheeling shop, so helps promote his business.
Okay, coming up now, this is Thundering Heart. Mike Sneed, he's 29 years old out of Lakeville, Indiana, running an 1,100 horsepower, 87 Jeep CJ5. It's an original Jeep frame, but running a custom-built fiberglass body, and the body weighs only 35 pounds.
And he just got this motor together tonight, so he's hoping he has a good run.
Uncut racing, and there they go. Whoa, all the way through, and there's a mud spewed up there from the front end as he slams into the finish, that mud pit.
I think it's like a mud lake up there at the end.
He said this is a brand new motor. He'd only run it once before tonight, and it worked so good it scared him to death. It would scare me too. Mike Sneed will look back in slow motion and take a look at Mr. Sneed and see what he does. He makes it all the way through. He's got to beat 3.16 seconds.
He got a good launch, stayed above the mud, even with those uncaught tires, and he put 3.19 seconds on the board. 3/100ths of a second slower. That shows you how close the competition is here in the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mudbog Drag Racing Championships. Well, coming up now, this is called Tearing It Up. Steve SCHEY of Wonder Lake, Illinois. Another Jeep CJ5 with a handmade tube frame and aluminum flooring. You got to have flooring underneath the driver's seat in these Mudboggers. But he's hoping that aluminum flooring will make it as light as possible. And there's a really good shot of those DOT tires, uncut, just like you drive to the supermarket with.
Exactly. 2,200 pounds. It's a 400 Chevy engine, aviation gas, running 40-inch monster mudders. Muncie 4-speed transmission. Look at the wing on top. Steve SCHEY.
Carbon fiber wheel, those orange wheels.
Oh, that's beautiful. He makes it through, rocking and rolling all the way through and slams on the binders. Again, this is a Saginaw Civic Center. It is a hockey arena. Hence, they've got a big, you can see the fence there on the bottom of your screen. They've got a big mud pit at the end to slow these trucks down and these vehicles down. Slow motion again for Steve SCHEY and Tearing It Up. Let's see what he does.
He runs aviation gas in this Jeep and uses a Muncie 4-speed. And his time, he turned 3.41 seconds.
Not quite fast enough. That's 25/100ths of a second slower than the fastest time of the night. Coming up now, Chuck Stone out of Cincinnati. This is called Rolling Stone. Another CJ Jeep. It's a CJ7, 750 horsepower.
Now, Chuck normally runs the tractor tire class. This is the first time he's going to run in the uncut tire class.
Gets a good launch. Slows a little bit there in the middle, but makes it all the way through. Now look at this. He is powering his way out of that mud pit at the end.
That power glide transmission he's got.
And the crowd loves it. Make no mistake. Chuck Stone, the Rolling Stone, he calls him. Might point out, Margo, these engines can only run, well, what, about 60 seconds? They have no cooling systems whatsoever.
They've eliminated the radiators for merely weight purposes.
Yep.
And that launch he gets, it's hard to imagine that he weighs in at 3,800 pounds, being the heaviest vehicle in this class. I'd say it was like a rolling boulder, but hey, look at that time.
4.72, not bad at all. Again, the weight slowing him down. Chuck Stone.
If he shaved some weight off that vehicle, I think we could see some real good times.
And he heads back to the pits. Saginaw Civic Center, we've got a lot of people here tonight and a lot of the top mud boggers from throughout the Midwest and both coasts, incidentally. And this is an interesting machine. This is Wild Thing. Ronnie York, Buchanan, Michigan. He's 21 years old. Has been racing for 8 years. It's an 86 Jeep CJ6 with a 433 Chevy Big Block, running a turbo 400 engine, or a transmission, 850 horsepower.
He utilizes nitrous. It's activated under the throttle pedal, so there's no mistakes.
So when he steps on the throttle, it kicks in the nitrous oxide immediately, right?
That's correct. And he's running 40-inch monster mutter tires.
Uncut class. Let's see what he can do. Here's the launch. Right through there, and then into the mud pit at the end.
And that mud pit is doing his job tonight, keeping those vehicles contained onto the pit area.
Yes, it is. It's a very safe sport. We go to a lot of trouble, the USHRA Association, to make sure that everything is run by the book. And it's one of the safest sports around. Ronnie York gets through. We'll check his time. Not a real fast time. Again, the weight is slowing him down of the heavier machines. The Wild Thing, a 4:03 clocking. Not too bad at all. We'll be back with more exciting mud bog drag racing coming up. In fact, more mud you'll see at a presidential debate. So don't go away. We'll be back to the Saginaw Civic Center.
Watch out. The wildest show on wheels is about to roar into your living room. It's the ultimate home video. Blood, sweat, and gears. Bigfoot takes on the toughest full-blown competition ever before facing his greatest test when Sergeant Slaughter and his battle battalion challenge Bigfoot to an all-out tug of war. So if you want gear-jamming, car-crushing, down and dirty action, get your credit card ready to order your video now. Call 1-800-351-1500. Blood, sweat, and gears.
Civic Center and the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mud Bog Drag Racing Championship, brought to you in part by Dick's CPEC Tires. You can't win without them. And coming up now, this is Craig Jones of Chesterton, Indiana. And this is called the Lead Sled Junior.
I want to know who Senior is. It's a 1986 Ford Ranger with a 427 cubic engine. It's running a C6 automatic transmission, and it looks like he's turning in his wheel locks there to kick in his four-wheel drive.
2,500 pounds this machine weighs. It's running a nitrous oxide system, fogger system. And it's an 86 Ford Ranger.
And luck of the draw is making the run slower and slower as the night progresses, and Lead Sled is going to have a tough time getting above those ruts.
I don't think there's any question about that. The ruts continue to get deeper and deeper. Jones owns a 4x4 shop in Chesterton, Indiana. If you're ever in there, stop by and say hello to him. But look at this guy dig. Look at the smoke coming out of that engine, Margo. Look at that.
It's not coming out of the exhaust pipes. He must have blown a head gasket.
Smoke. I mean, we're going to have a, whoa, look out. An explosion. I think he just blew an engine.
At least too much heat in those carburetors up, Chuck.
Now, normally the rules are white smoke means water like a blown head gasket, as Margo said. Blue smoke means oil. We had flames coming out of the center of that machine. It looked like it was going right up into the driver's compartment.
Well, regardless what color the smoke, it meant trouble.
Yep, he's definitely in trouble. I think he just blew an engine. I don't think that engine is rebuildable. You can run them about 20 runs before they have to tear these engines down and completely rebuild them. Let's watch again in slow motion and see what happened. 90 feet, 1/4 inch for Lead Sled Junior. And look at the smoke, Margo, coming out directly out of the left side of that engine into the driver compartment. Look at that.
Now, there is a firewall between that driver's compartment and the engine compartment, but it can still get through those gaping holes. It's not like a passenger car.
Obviously, look at that smoke. Now, watch out. We should see that flame momentarily.
He's trying to look around the smoke.
And the flame bursts. Look like a backfire, possibly out of the carburetor. There it is, a freeze frame of that flame. Woo!
Say that 3 times quickly.
Well, the crowd likes it. This young lady is very happy about it with her young friend. We got a lot of families here in Saginaw. Coming up now, this is Too Hot to Handle. This is a machine you won't see very often anywhere, mud bog or the street or anything else. It's a 1968 Opel GT. They used to call them the mini Corvettes when they first came out back in the late 60s. Bob Crouch of Kent City, Michigan.
At 2,500 pounds, he should have a good advantage, but luck of the draw has slated him last in this event.
The 302 Ford, a small block Ford engine, C4 transmission, burns regular gasoline. This is kind of a low bucks operation. Not a whole lot of money sunk into this rig.
And an unusual tire choice.
36.5-inch Grand Prix tires. I don't know about this one, Margo.
And neither does Bob right now.
There's groundhog-like tires, but the tread is open down the middle, so he hoped that it wouldn't bog down as fast. I've got news for him.
Well, I've got news for him that he's creeping along at like a quarter of an inch every 2 seconds, but it's enough to keep him alive.
He went down faster than the Titanic, Margo. I'm not kidding.
And there's the flagman coming into view. Now, the second he loses forward motion, you'll see him snap that red flag. You ought to do Bob a favor and do it sooner.
There it is, or snap an engine. The track crew under the direction of Jim Harris standing there watching him, and as soon as he stops forward motion, the flagman then throws the red flag and stops him.
And they're taking the measurement for the run from the front axle of the vehicle.
Again, there's no cooling system in these mud boggers to eliminate weight and try to keep them light up on top of that mud. Too hot to handle, 19 feet. He was awesome for the first 15 feet, and then all of a sudden it was all over.
He was awesome staging, Larry.
It took 4 minutes to get to another 4 feet. There's our crew. They're going to be towing him out the back. Too hot to handle. Was not hot enough. I think we'll look back at the slow motion, the run in slow motion, Margo, and see he just did not have the speed off the line.
Oh, we're going to take, well, the tow out's probably going to be quicker than the slow-mo going forward, so.
Yep.
This is how they attach the cable to a hook that's part of the mud bog vehicle, so they always have something to pull them out of the mud with.
And then they just pull it backwards and wench him out. And there it is.
He was hoping that lack of tread in the middle of the tire would help him skim along the top of the mud. Unfortunately, he didn't get a chance to test that theory out.
Nope. He just did not have any luck at all. Tough break. So, the results in the uncut class, short and sweet, first run out, 3:16, Thundering Heart, 3:19, Tearing It Up, 3:41, Wild Thing, fourth, and a 4:03 clocking, Rolling Stone, fifth, SLED Jr. behind him in sixth, and Too Hot to Handle, not living up to his name, 19 feet was all he could make. And that's the results in the uncut class, and coming up now will be the big boys with the big toys, the cut tire class. And this is the most competitive and also the fastest. The tires are cut and they can get through the mud faster. And the first machine, Black Bart. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Front Association Mud Bog Drag Racing Championships from the Saginaw Civic Center. Larry Huffman and the lady who knows all about the mud, Margo King. And coming up, Margo, I knew I'd get a reaction out of you somewhere. This is Black Bart, Pete BOURIKAS of Quincy, Massachusetts.
That's what you get for that mud joke.
This is the 1988 D&G chassis mud racer. It's a 500 cubic inch Chevy putting out 1,000 ground-pound and horsepower.
This is a good example of what we're going to be seeing in this next class, because we've got a custom, specifically designed mud chassis here that enables the suspension and everything to kick in and make that horsepower drive these cars through the pit.
Now, these are actually funny cars, literally, correct?
Don't tell those drivers they're funny cars.
Well, they are. They're fiberglass, and they're extremely light. The bodies weigh anywhere from 35 to 45 pounds, and they put out 1,000 horsepower.
Now, even though the other class had some high horsepower equipment, it was very difficult to get that horsepower to move them through the
pit. To get them through the mud because the ruts were developing so deep. Okay, here, let's see BOURIKAS. Pete BOURIKAS, Black Bart launches. Not very far.
After that build-up, why did he do that?
Boy, yeah, no question about it. He has a problem. It looked like those front wheels were not turning, so possibly broken axle in the front end.
Or at least just the rear-wheel drive was working on that wear. But check out those cut tires.
Yep.
20 hours per tire to remove
the tread. They're actually
big hunk of rubber.
They're actually hand cut, right?
That's right. They use sprint car racers use a iron cutting tool that heats up so you can cut through that rubber. That's what these guys.
Well, 18 feet, 11.5 inches for Black Bart. Not that far. And again, the problem with the front end, he was only using the rear wheels. And in something like this mud, it's so deep and so sticky, you've got to have all 4 wheels turning if you're going to have any chance at all through this mud bog. They tow him out. The batteries have got to be secured and completely enclosed in a plastic case because of the jostling they take. Night Flight, Kevin Knight out of Portsmouth, New Hampshire. If you're into Chevy Blazers, well, here's a machine you can cheer for. It's a 72 Chevy Blazer with a big 540 cubic inch Rodeck engine, putting out 1,000 horsepower. They're sponsored by R&L Automotive Machine Shop. Night Flight. Big machine, Margo, a lot of horsepower if he can stay up on top of the mud. He does. He manages to stay up on top. Gets all the way through. Slams on the binders.
And even though we're seeing really a less sophisticated machine than the previous vehicle, he really does what he's supposed to do. Gets a good launch off that pad and turns a 3.85 seconds.
There he goes, rocking and rolling in a big Chevy Blazer. Makes it all the way through. Kevin Knight and Night Flight. 385, the clocking for Night Flight. And they tow it back to the pits. So there you have it. We're seeing the cut tire class, the funny cars of mud bog drag racing here at the Saginaw Civic Center on a very cold evening. It's snowing outside, we are told. And here we go. This is the Charlie Manson of mud boggers. This is Mud Shark. It's owned by Mike Johns and Mike ERDELYI. And ERDELYI is driving tonight. This thing is awesome, Margo. Tell us about this.
This man is unbelievable. It's always a spectacular show. It's a 1964 Corvette body, which he actually made from the mold of his own Corvette. It's got a 468 cubic inch Chevy motor, blown alcohol, producing 1,200 horsepower.
This thing's awesome. Watch it. 1,200 horsepower, blown and alcohol, 2,500 pounds. Katie, bar the door. When this guy goes, hide the women and children.
Oh, there it goes.
Look at this! Look at this! Oh! That's a tough way to stop.
He's always has trouble with his suspension, and part of the problem is he uses adjustable airbag suspension, like the radical suspension you see on big semis.
And it's never adjusted right. The crowd loves him. Look at it again. Look, watch this in slow motion. How'd you like to have this guy show up at your doorstep one night to take your daughter out? Huh? Look at this. He's all over the track. I don't believe it. I love to watch this guy. But I don't think that's going to be a complete legal run because he's taken out half of the Saginaw Civic Center. Oh. He's been disqualified. Tough break for the Mud Shark. Oh, too bad.
He locked his wheels up way in advance, but he had so much momentum going, he was airborne.
No damage except to his shorts. So there you have it, the Mud Shark.
And to his new paint job.
Yeah, a little bit of his paint job, too. There, and also the wall. There goes part of the wall back to the pits. Well, Jim Harris is up. Sorry, just a little bit too wild there for the Mud Shark. So he put on a great show and the people liked him. Coming up next, this is Rambunctious, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mark Payton, and he is the youngest driver out here tonight. Vandalia, Ohio. Tell us about the machine, Margo.
Mark's only 20 years old, and he's driving a 1985 Jeep Scrambler. It produces 1,000 horsepower, made by not many Chrysler engines, 520-inch cubic inches that produce 1,000 horsepower.
That's right. You don't see many of them in mud bog racing, but he's got a real potent Chrysler engine in here.
And it's got a transmission of a torque flight automatic transmission, kind of a high-tech transmission in there.
Chrysler transmission, and he cuts his own tires.
And he says that is his secret weapon.
Well, let's see what he can do. And the time to beat up there on the top of the screen. Here it is. There's a hand-cut tires. There's a start for Rambunctious. And he gets all the way through, and then even over the ridge at the end. Well, let's see. We might have a new low time of the night. Let's take a look back at young Mark Payton in slow motion in Rambunctious.
He didn't really get a great launch. He's actually falling up and down into the actual ruts of the track, but the time, not that bad.
3:16. Excellent time. 3:16, which He takes the lead, and that equals the first run of the night. Short and sweet, turned to 3:16 also, Margo, through 3:16, and he's taken the lead in the cut tire class. We've got more exciting mud bog drag racing action, the cut class, the very popular cut class coming up, so don't go away. We'll be back to the Saginaw Civic Center.
This and more. Texas Steer insulated work boots in regular width, wide width, and nubuck leather. Just $29 on sale now at Kmart.
Last year, half of our sales were of products that didn't even exist 5 years ago, like our pacemaker that changes speed to meet demands on the heart. We're Siemens USA, leaders in medical engineering, telecommunications, energy, automation, and electronics, with 23 research and development centers coast to coast, helping to build a stronger, more productive America. We are Siemens USA.
For sports news, turn to the experts. Experts who take you wherever sports happen, whatever time of day. ESPN Sports Center, America's sports authority.
We're back to the Saginaw Civic Center and the U.S. Hot Rod Association Mud Bog Drag Racing Championships, brought to you in part by Dick CPEC Tires. You can't win without them. And coming up now, Margo, this is the MUDBUSTER.
And all the folks in Waukegan, Illinois are cheering for Mark Greene. He's a 31-year-old mechanic, and that may explain why he's put port-injected nitrous gasoline into this motor. And that means that they piped in, under pressure, the nitrous and the gasoline into the intake port. And you can change the jets and everything into that little injection right there, and that can really give you an advantage, especially off the line.
It's a 1979 Jeep CJ5 Custom. It's a fiberglass funny car. It looks like an ordinary Jeep you'd see on the street. It isn't. It's about 35, 40 pounds, the entire body on that machine. He's running a big 454 Chevy Corvette engine. Look at those stacks coming out of that thing.
They look mean.
They do. 1,000 horsepower. He's running a 400 turbo. 589 gears, and the machine weighs just a shade over 2,000 pounds. The chassis built by one of your people, your best friends, Mike Fair of Fair Motorsports.
And again, an example of the high technology coming to this sport.
No question about it. He's got to beat a 3:16, and I think he just did it.
That was a great run.
Flawless run for Mark Greene. The crowd responding tremendously. Jerry Devine, our announcer here in the stadium, calling him, and there it is, a 2:27 for MUDBUSTER.
You can see him just literally floating across that mud pit. No problems at all.
And that's what they've got to do. They've got to get up and stay on top of it. And he did. So Mark Greene just set the fastest time of the night into the 2-second mark, 2.27 seconds. So he's looking awfully good. Mark Greene looking good here tonight in the Saginaw Civic Center.
And you can see his front tires. He's taking a lot of meat out from behind, in between those treads. So he's got some big paddles.
Yep, he does. Here's a little boy who's doing a smart thing, and that's protecting his ears. It's loud here. Mud Patrol coming up next, ladies and gentlemen. It's co-owned and driven by Tom Martin and Greg Stone. And Greg Stone will be driving this 1932 Ford funny car coupe tonight.
Tom's been driving this car the last couple months, and it'll be interesting to see if Greg Stone has kept his proficiency up.
He's got to beat a 227 clocking. It's a 1,300 horsepower machine, extremely light. You can bend the fiberglass with your fingers, this little 32 Ford coupe.
And don't underestimate this engine either.
1,300 horsepower as he stages one of the most successful mud bog machines in the world, ladies and gentlemen. Watch this guy. Greg Stone doing the driving.
And it's also one of the most sophisticated mud bog machines on the circuit. A lot of technology that these two gentlemen have thought up and put into this car.
1,300 horsepower, 2,048 pounds. They've got to beat a 227. Let's see if they can do it. Here we go. Here we go. They're revving. He revs up the engine. Greg Stone, he's going to drop the clutch. just about ready to go. The ground is rumbling and vibrating with the power of this machine. Look at this. There he goes. He launches, and there's no stopping him. Right through the mud. Margo, I think we've got a new leader. That was unbelievable. Flawless.
If he was psyching up on the line, it paid off, because that was a flawless run.
Watch him. Now watch him. Look at the front end come up off the ground. 2:10. 2.10 seconds for the Mud Patrol.
Opposite of the uncut class, the times are getting faster in the cut tire class as we go. After seeing an exciting run like that, it reminds me to mention that there's an electric kill switch that must be attached to either the steering wheel or the dash. The kill button must be easily accessible to the driver. Greg Stone is just at fast time, and Larry's down with him on the floor of the Civic Center.
The co-driver of Mud Patrol is Greg Stone. Tom Martin normally drives this extremely fast 32 Ford. We were a little concerned because you hadn't driven it for a while that your reaction might be off a little bit, but you looked awfully strong.
Yeah, it comes back pretty quick. The last time out that I was driving it, it went real well, so it came back. I was real happy.
No problem with the mud?
No, it just getting out of it after I'd stopped, actually. It had some pretty thick stuff down there.
What about outside? It's snowing outside, been snowing for a while. Was that a problem with the car being very cold, maybe the snow on the steering wheel or anything like that?
Just, you know, afterwards, now it's going to be fun to clean up because we not only have the mud, we've got the snow to clean off.
Well, congratulations. A good run tonight, Greg.
Thank you very much.
Greg Stone, the co-owner of the Mud Patrol.
And pulling onto the staging area is Chemical Reaction, driven by Steve DeLue out of Holland, Michigan. He's 23 years old. He's a retail lumber dealer, and he's been racing for 3 years. His car